Materials are what give our spaces character and personality, can help tell a story about the home. The expression of materials can create unique experiences and invoke certain feelings while in that space, whether it's calm, relaxing, comforting, lively. The materials that we choose for our homes are likely going to be there for a while, and it's important that we're making informed decisions about how we choose these products. The first criteria that I look at is obviously cost. If my clients can't afford the materials that I specify, then what's the point? Now, there are two factors that you need to consider when assessing material based purely on cost, and that is material cost and installation cost. Material cost is the simple upfront cost of a material, and it's an easy way to determine if it's in line with your budget and goals for the project. It's also probably the most superficial assessment of a material, and it does not take into account many other factors such as installed cost, durability, maintenance, and so on. However, it can be an easy way to rule out any materials that will exceed the allocated budget or help you plan out how to use the material in more strategic ways. However, a lot of people don't realize that installation cost of material can often account for a significant portion, sometimes up to 3/4 of the cost of a material on a project. A lot of the time, the materials themselves will be cheaper up front, but will require more labor or specialty labor, additional installation materials like adhesives, mounts, or other equipment, and possibly even require intensive preparation work, whereas a material could be more expensive up front but have a cheaper installed cost. You'll need to weigh both of these factors. The long-term durability of a product also impacts how we take price and cost into consideration. If you're going to need to replace a cheaper material within 10 to 15 years versus a material that has twice the upfront cost in 30 years, you've broken even in the long run. Using a more extreme example, if you had a concrete home, the durability would exponentially exceed light wood frame structures if properly detailed. Another example is a standing seam zinc roof, which can last for 80 to 100 years, whereas a composite roof would need to be replaced after 20 to 30 years. Durability often goes hand in hand with maintenance. The maintenance cost of a material is often overlooked, as some materials require extra attention by the homeowner. For example, countertop materials like butcher block and marble stain easily and require the users to invest their time in the proper upkeep of these materials. The material finish also plays a role in the level of maintenance a material will require, as well as the ability to clean that material. The next thing that I assess is the PERM rating of the material. This refers to the vapor permeability or permeance if it's a membrane material. Is the material vapor open, semi-vapor open, semi-vapor impermeable, or completely vapor impermeable? This question matters a lot, especially on walls, ceilings, and floors that are exposed to the exterior environment. In most cases, we don't want to use vapor impermeable wall coverings like vinyl since it tends to trap moisture and can cause mold and rot in your walls. Vapor drive moves from warm to cold, and because we have warm seasons and cold seasons, we're going to have vapor moving in two different directions throughout the year. If you look into a product's specifications, it will often note whether it's a Class 1, Class 2, or Class 3 vapor retarder, or it will provide a PERM rating. All you really need to know is that if a material is vapor open, it is more than 10 PERMs. If it's less than 10 PERMs but greater than 1 PERM, the material is considered semi-vapor permeable. If it's less than 1 PERM but more than 0.1 PERMs, it's semi-vapor impermeable, and if it's less than 0.1 PERM, it's vapor impermeable. The next set of criteria that I use for materials is, of course, aesthetics. We want the materials in our homes to look good, especially since we have to look at them every single day. The value of high-quality, beautiful materials is truly understated, and we tend to take care of beautiful things that we can take pride in versus ugly materials that we can't. For modern and contemporary homes, I like to base my material palette off of 2 contrasting materials, and sometimes 1 accent material or color. We also like to expand this material concept into the interior for continuity. This keeps things looking clean and aesthetically pleasing while simplifying the details and material joints. For example, a combination of western red cedar and board-formed concrete and dark gray accents is a great palette for projects in the Pacific Northwest. Another example would be charred wood or shosugibon, white oak, and basalt. Contrast and variation in textures makes our homes architecturally more interesting to look at and helps draw our eyes to things that we want to call attention to, or in some cases, not call attention to. We also want to consider how the materials fit into the context of the site, the neighborhood, and the landscape. Does it stand out or blend in? What is the overarching architectural concept? How does light, both natural and artificial, affect the perception of the material? These are all questions we ask ourselves when developing a material palette. The local climate of your site has an enormous impact on how we determine an appropriate material palette. The material response to a project in the high desert will vary drastically from a project on the coast or in the valley. For example, a home on the coast should use materials and components that are very resilient to the salty marine air and high humidity levels. However, a home in the valley would have the potential to use a larger range of materials. Other considerations when choosing your material palette based on your local climate are expansion and contraction of the material, the moisture resistance of the material, whether the material has a thermal mass, sunlight and resistance to bleaching, marine air, snow, and insects and pests. The local availability can also greatly impact the cost of the material within the project. Choosing local materials and working with local suppliers and manufacturers will reduce your transportation and import costs. Local professionals will also be more familiar with the companies in your area or region and installation details, and you'll have representatives nearby to help you if something goes south. If you're importing materials from outside of the state or from outside of the country, you won't have this luxury. If you or your family members have health issues such as asthma or autoimmune disorders, your interior material selection is of the utmost importance. It's always a good idea to choose materials, paints, stains, and finishes that have low or zero VOCs or volatile organic compounds that off-gas minimally. Being very picky about what types of chemicals are used and in the installation of these materials can make an enormous difference in your health living in a home. If you do choose materials that off-gas or have VOCs, give the home time to air out before moving in, and install high-quality air purifying system. Avoid materials like carpet that collect dirt, dust, and allergens that reduce the overall air quality of your home. If you've ever pulled out a 20-year-old carpet, you know exactly what I mean. All the vacuuming and shampooing in the world can't get the dirt out, so why choose it? Another thing that you'll want to consider is that not all natural materials are good for you. As much as I like natural, untreated cedar, it's not the best choice for individuals who suffer from lung issues, as even trace amounts of the resins can trigger an asthmatic reaction. Sustainability is another subcategory that you may want to consider. Materials that are not easily obtainable or in high demand, like teak wood, are expensive to obtain, install, and replace. While materials like these look beautiful, they're not something I would recommend using a large quantity of due to the low stocks or availability, high cost, and potential for becoming no longer available for future generations. Use these materials sparingly, strategically, and with purpose. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Good luck in your projects. Cheers.